There's a few challenges when bringing biological type inputs into your farming program and going more biological with your agronomy. It's a major change to the way you deal with nutrients in soils and plants.
I did say there'll be water on the floor, liquid on the floor.
It's not just a quick change. So it's about improving the soil function, it's about equipment, application equipment, it's about building your knowledge around these products as well. To do culturing at any scale, to ferment making bioferts, I need to have a good starter culture, I need a source of energy, which is usually molasses, I need the temperature to be right, I need clean equipment, organised equipment, good water, I need to be able to lock that down with a fermentation lock, and I need a level of nutrients. It's about getting the confidence to do a few things, get some success and build on that. And that takes time, and the guys are learning from each other and getting peer support with some biologically minded agronomists helping them so that they can make some steps of change.
So we've been making bioferts for 2 years now, and we started very small, just in shuttles, mixing things by hand, and we've changed our process a lot along the way when we've learnt how to be more efficient. Our hopes for the future is that we just do a better job of brewing exactly what our crops need, and that's the next step, to really figure out how to tailor a brew for our context.
But the carbon is still in there. Going into a biologically based approach to your agronomy isn't throwing out the fundamentals of agronomy that we've learned over the last 150 years. What we're doing is adding to it. So the agronomy model of the 20th century with chemicals and fertilisers, it's probably just incomplete, and so now we're adding on the biological and ecological dimension to it. So there's a few challenges in terms of even just the tests, the soil tests we get. You know, they're old technologies. But yeah, it is about adding to that. So we're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater, but trying to build on it to improve it so we have a better model for the 21st century.
We do sap test analysis, so we have an idea of what the plant needs at any one time. And after a couple of years of doing sap tests, we have a small idea of what they need, but I think as time goes on, we'll get better at learning what the plants need at what stages of their life cycle, so we can have what they need already brewed up, ready to go. The main thing I look at is at the end of the year, at the harvest time, and you talk to the farmers around you and that are obviously still conventional, comparing their yields to ours. And if we can get pretty close to what they're doing, it makes me think we're doing something right. Last year, I believe we didn't feed our crops enough, so we're definitely looking at putting more out this year. The reason we're doubling going from 10 litres to 20 litres is when Carol's put together the graph of the sap tests, you can see that they've started off pretty good, but they've fallen away fairly quick. And it'd be nice to start them at a higher level to give us a bit more time to do the first foliar. We only really scaled up in the last 12 months anyway. So we didn't really have the capacity to make a lot of fertiliser last year.
But the green of the crop stays on.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, when we had a real dry spell in the middle of the year, you could see a lot of crops browning off. They're really struggling, and ours didn't. They stayed green and they held on for a lot longer.
Bioferts are very economical in comparison to a lot of the standard issue fertilisers that they always recommend more and more each year, it seems. And we're not putting anywhere near the amounts out that they would recommend, but because they're complex with biology, they seem to stir the plant into looking for their own amounts of those nutrients that you put out. And so it's using what you already have rather than adding more.
To say that making biofertilisers is you save a lot of money because you're not buying all your other fertilisers, that's probably true eventually, but there's a lot of start-up costs.
I would say that we're not spending in the last 2 years as much on inputs, but we've spent it in buying equipment and other things to get into it. So as we go along, it should be a lot cheaper. We're hoping it's better for the plant and it's also better for our back pocket.
What I always say about doing this regenerative type farming?
Tips for those starting out: just talk to people who are doing it to find out how they're doing it. You don't have to go into expensive equipment straight away. It's just sometimes little tips and tricks might make it just such a more pleasurable experience to brew rather than struggling and struggling.
And don't be afraid to try something different, and if you fail, well then you've learnt from that and you move on.